escuchar ahora de voz de Christopher Chapman, el director de diseño de la Hyundai para Estados Unidos, quien tuvo con nosotros una entrevista ahí en la planta de Hyundai en Montgomery, Alabama.
Well, Christopher, thank you very much for having us here at what we can call the home for Hyundai in the United States, here in Alabama, right?
My pleasure.
So, very important plan. Like, can we talk a little bit about the plan itself? I mean, I know you're in design, but your work, your previous work, comes to reality here.
Yes, actually, we're the satellite studio. I represent the satellite studio in California, in North America. So, we're regionally based design, but we're as a group, as a Hyundai Motor Group, we're global players. So we work together all over the world, but primarily our job is to monitor the North American trends and then supply the right type of product for North America.
It's being the American market, actually the most demanding probably in the world. Is that your input probably the one that takes more prominent role in designing a car like this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is our focus. I mean, the North American market is extremely important to the Hyundai Group. In some cases, it's a number one market for us to be considered. But we do, as a global design team, work together and compete against one another. So there could be competition that comes from Europe. It comes from Korea as well. We like to think that design is quite international, actually, so that design tastes, they differ from one region to another in some respects, but generally speaking, they're kind of merging into sort of a universal approach or a universal kind of acceptance.
It's like, I guess, technology and the communications that are more immediate and more accessible for everybody in the world. That's a result of that a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Maybe. The world's getting smaller, for sure. I think technology can be, of course, a huge driver into the purchase regions of our customers, for sure. But I'm a big believer in kind of the pendulum theory where, you know, people can overreact with technology and then swing back to the other side and say, okay, let's calm down and let's see what's really needed.
Well, especially in the last, 7 years since the iPhone came out, I think that pendulum went out of stride on one side. And then
you can overreact, definitely, I think. But I think if you kind of focus on the car and what the car is meant to do and the fact that at the end of the day, it is a machine, you're not dealing with an entity that is necessarily a living thing, although as car designers or car people like to refer them as living things. It's definitely... technology has its role, but it shouldn't be such a dominant factor that it takes your focus away from the road or your appreciation for driving.
Yeah. So going back to this car and a little bit to the history of Hyundai, almost 30 years in the U.S. And this car is actually it's like the mature stage of Fluidic Sculpture philosophy design, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we're in the process of sort of reintroducing Fluidic Sculpture in its new generation, its new state. We call it, I guess, typically or traditionally, Fluidic Sculpture is our overall philosophy. This is the sort of second generation, if you will, of that philosophy. And it was our duty, really, to kind of evolve it into the next round. People's reaction to our philosophy was quite strong, was quite positive, and it was important for us to understand what that was and then also understand who we are. So I think it's a really important aspect to be in a position where you can not really worry too much or have to prove yourself out to the customer anymore. Hyundai certainly made their mark a few years ago and continues to make their mark. But I don't think you have to say it quite the same way, and you don't have to say it quite as loud each time. So I think we're adjusting our approach. We're looking inward to what the company stands for, and part of that statement and part of that goal is quality, it's precision, it's performance, and things like this. And so we're combining all of those attributes, including design, in on that so that the designs look as though they perform the way they perform underneath.
Yeah, so that's what you were talking about, like Hyundai making its name. First started with quality and dependability and people recognizing the value of the 10-year guarantee and all those kind of things. But now you see at a Hyundai and you know it's a Hyundai coming down the street.
Absolutely. I think, we're super strong in terms of our identity. And that's where I mean by you don't have to prove yourself
Yeah.
every single time you walk into the room. Now we're established, but we want to keep our momentum. We want to keep moving. We want to make sure that our design philosophy is intact, that our design philosophy doesn't change, but our design approach does, and that we keep with the times and that we're true to who we are.
Well, I'll tell you a little story about a friend who's moving back from New York to Miami and obviously needs a car in Miami, in New York, not so much. And she's looking at this segment, exactly, and she likes the car. She likes the car because of the reviews it gets. I mean, like, good in Consumer Reports, this and that, awards, whatever. But she doesn't like the looks of it. And so why are you buying it? Like, buy something that you like. So this is more or less the answer to all those kind of things, right? With general consumers, the Accord is like probably the number one car in this segment, and the Camry. But now this one looks much better, and it has all the other attributes.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we're in the process of framing a four-sided picture, and the new Sonata is the second side in our picture. It began with the Genesis, and you can see that through our Fluidic Sculpture design philosophy, the Genesis is kind of an expression of class.
Yeah.
The mid-size segment or whatever, if you accept the premise that design is trying to elevate Hyundai into a modern premium kind of a world, then this segment in the new Sonata is really a statement of dignity, bringing more dignity to the class. So Hyundai's always been known for its value, more than expected results.
Yeah.
You put a certain amount of money down, but you get so much more for your money. Now that continues, but it's also this refocusing and recalibration about precision engineering, pride in build, precision in expression, precision in surfacing. And what I would say is when you look at the car, what you see is what you get. You have immediate understanding of what's happening. Designers are constantly trying to simplify things, but not completely dilute the story as well. They want to make sure that there's enough said in the surface, there's enough said in the design, that you don't overstate it all the time. And I think that was part of maybe the last 5 or 6 years of Hyundai's history, was to make it so loud, so strong. But now I think we're kind of dialing a certain amount of that thing, and we're editing, really. Yeah. And as I mentioned in the previous presentation, we're trying to edit these things so as to not lose any of the story, but to make sure that there's not any added extra things that really aren't too necessary, and that's a designer's job.
Yeah. For me, the side of the car, the profile of the car is the best of it. It's really the best looking part of it to me. But for you, what's your favorite part?
I agree. I mean, I think also if you look at the new Sonata, it's actually one of the first cars that Hyundai has ever done, this new Sonata, where we took some cues from the last generation Sonata, the outgoing Sonata. It wasn't a complete melt and repour in terms of design strategy or design approach. We took what was used and successfully used with the proportion, with the silhouette of the car. The old car and the new car, whatever, still have that very coupe-like center line towards the back, but still it's yet very, very roomy on the inside. And then the what I call the saber line, or this belt line chrome piece that goes
under the doors, yeah.
Exactly. Well, through into the hood, into the front quarter panel that hits the headlamp. It's a wonderful signature element that Sonata created in the last generation, and we continued that forward going forward. And then if you look at a lot of the design cues as well, they're very, very similar, but they're executed in a very, very different way, and that's sort of part of the four-sided picture, a four-sided frame that we're doing, beginning with the Genesis and going to continue into 2015 with another couple of products.
And as you were mentioning, like elevating the standard of this segment, this car starts at $21,000, and you get a lot for that. Talking about like getting a lot for your money, huh?
Yeah, maybe you drove it as well. That you get a lot out of that four-cylinder engine in terms of pep. Also, particularly you ask about views, the rear view, the rear three-quarter of the view, I think is quite stunning as well. And we've addressed kind of a width issue that the previous generation car kind of had. It had a very rolled plan view in the rear, and now we're offering a much wider, more planted kind of stance in the rear. and a grille up front that kind of offers a little bit more of a proud statement. The silhouette of the car is less slope-nosed. It's more a little bit kind of upright and proud. So, yeah, we've done a lot of tweaking and tuning. You know, designers work in half-mil increments and
Fighting with engineers sometimes.
We fight with each other, and we fight ourselves as well. But we put a lot of passion into it.
Well, thank you very much, Christopher Chapman from Hyundai Design during the launch event for the 2015 Sonata here in Alabama in the manufacturing home of Hyundai in the USA.
My pleasure. Thank you.